listening to the Hometown Losers, the St. Louis Sports Podcast, with Josh, Adam, and OJ.
Hey everybody, welcome back here to the Hometown Losers Podcast, session number 33 coming at you here, and I'm joined as always by my co-hosts and Adam and OJ. Gentlemen, we doing okay today?
We're doing good. You ready for 33?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's almost been a year since we started this podcast. It's been crazy to think about that, but maybe we'll do something special for a year anniversary or something like that. It's gonna be. I'm actually curious to see what numbers, since I know that we've missed a few weeks here and there. What our final number will be.
Yeah.
I guess that would be easy to take a look at the calendar and kind of go from there. But let's not bore the listeners on that right now.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's.
Yeah. So we've got a few things to talk about tonight, right? So we've got some interest, one topic we haven't really talked about much recently because there hasn't been all that much going on, and that's the cards, right?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, I feel like we end up talking about them, but it's always just negative. And then we kind of as you said, Adam, kind of got away from them a little bit just because of they are what they are at this point. The last 10, they're 4-6. They're losing the game today. At least last time I checked, I think they're still losing.
Yeah, I think the last I checked, they were up
2-0?
they were down. It was 3-0 the last I checked. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into it here with some Cardinals stuff. So quick update for the listeners here. The Cardinals are 54-67, soon to be 68. It looks like they are 11 games, back in the Central, 8.5 games back in the wild card spot. And just for fun, they are 26th out of 30th in MLB, and they're 14th out of 15 in the NL, only in front of Colorado. Obviously we know this team is not really going anywhere, but the biggest issue that we have right now is the injuries that are continuing to pile up here. So I'm going to rattle through some of these injuries, and then we can talk about those injuries and how they're going to affect the team. So Ryan Helsley out 60-day IL with a forearm issue. Nolan Gorman out on the 10-day IL. By the way, so these are what they're officially being put on. So for example, Brendan Donovan on the 10-day IL, even though he has been on the IL for much longer, I think they can just continue to put him back on the 10-day. So just using it as an example. So anyways, Helsley, 60-day IL with a forearm issue. Gorman, 10-day IL with back issues. Lars Nootbaar, he's now day-to-day with an abdominal issue. Dylan Carlson, 10-day DL with an oblique injury. Steven Matz, 15-day IL with a lat strain. Brendan Donovan, 10-day IL with a right elbow strain, which might need surgery from what people are saying. Woodford, 15-day IL with shoulder injury. Packy Naughton is on the 60-day IL with a left elbow injury, and he actually did get surgery repaired on his flexor tendon on his throwing arm. So a lot is going on, right? And it just doesn't look very good when it comes to injuries. OJ, I'm going to start with you on this one here. I mean, how do you think that even with the team obviously being so bad, I mean, how do you think these injuries are really going to affect the team? Is it kind of a blessing in disguise to get some of these younger talent some time?
I wish. I mean, look, the problem is they still just keep throwing out Jose Fermin, Taylor Motter, and they just recently called up some 35-year-old guy from AAA. I mean, they're not getting prospects much run. Maybe Zach Thompson, Matthew Liberatore, but your position player side, you're not seeing Mason Wynn or anything. Any of the guys that the fans want to see. I just
yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, yeah, the people that they're calling up here, I was just looking here for, I think it was for Gorman. I was looking to see what his stats even were, because it was, who was it here? It was Richie Palacios. I think is who they called up for. Yeah. He's a younger guy, but yeah, overall,
I think it was a bullpen guy they called up recently or something that was 35.
Is that what it was? Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but a lot of these guys that, these other ones don't really have much experience. So,
yeah. So,
yeah, and that's kind of my concern now at this point is, we need to start seeing some people come up here. Just to kind of know what you have. Obviously, you want to keep rookie eligibility and stuff like that to a minimum. That's the reason why Mason Wynn's not here just yet. Yeah, but at some point, you got to start getting some of these younger prospects sometime, even if it's a spot start here, spot start there, because like if they're the future, then why not just give them a shot in the arm? Let them just go out there and kind of prove it and like kind of get the feel of the big arm experience. That way they have a taste of it and be like, damn, I really want to get back to that, even if it could be a bad outing, right? So
especially
go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, especially since we don't have a pennant we're chasing this year. What do we have to lose?
That's what I'm saying. You literally have nothing to lose right now, but I feel the Cardinals are not making the right decisions when it comes to that. And obviously, we're all just, armchair quarterbacks at this point in time. It's easier said than done, on this podcast rather than managing stuff. But at the same time, you just feel like there needs to be some sort of disparity of getting. So I look at it like these young kids, right? If they got one spot start, even if they get roughed up, right? So, I don't even know who to use as an example. I'll just use Tankins because it's the first name that comes to my mind. Give him a spot start, right? Say he gets roughed up, he gives up six runs in 4 innings, right? It's still like, oh, okay, well, I know that I can do that. I know what that atmosphere is like, and next time he gets called up, it might not be as nerve wracking. You know what I mean? And because you've been there, you've done that, and it shows good faith to these players that you are part of the solution next, coming forward. So I just don't know. What are you guys' opinions on something like that?
You got to plan for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, so obviously Tink Hence, he's not coming up this year. He's probably.
Well, no, I was just using him as an example.
Yeah. I do wonder about that too, because to what extent do they really think they need to see what they've got in Dakota Hudson? He's kind of intriguing because he gets good results, but his stuff really doesn't seem like it should play. But he's been getting some decent results in his career. But anyway, I don't know. But I almost wonder if they're trying to avoid exposing some of these guys to whatever is going on at the MLB level this year, just protect them.
And that could be yeah, and it could be. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, and I don't know any better, in my position. It's not like I'm coaching and understanding any of that stuff, right? But at some point, I just feel like you're going to have to trust them at some point. And
yeah.
I think that if you
even Walker up, there's definitely some guys. So, I think
you have one guy
later. Well, yeah, but I think
a lot of that had to do with his performance in spring training too, obviously.
Yeah, but I think that we'll see Wynn up this year. I think they're waiting right now to make sure they don't burn a year of rookie eligibility. But yeah, because there's a at bat limit and a days up limit. So the at bat thing, I think they might want to bring him up to play shortstop every day, and so they're just waiting until he can't possibly get enough at bats to break that limit, So I think I after looking more into it, because I kind of said the same thing before, but I think my estimate was wrong. It's probably more like late August, early September, where you can be more positive that he won't accrue that many at bats or plate appearances, whatever. So yeah, that's probably when we'll see it, because that's a guy that the way his season is gone, he looks like he's ready for the majors, the way he's hitting in AAA right now. So
yeah, and that's kind of my thing at this point, though. To your point that you said a little bit earlier, OJ, maybe they're just trying to protect him from the big leagues and stuff like that. If you go there and say, hey, listen, man, we're going to give you just a start here or there, because obviously, as you said, there is an eligibility limit, but and obviously we still got a little bit left to go, right? There's after today's game, there's going to be 40 games left. So maybe after another 20 games, they do decide to do something like what we're talking about. But I feel like there's just no harm in going to a young kid and being like, listen, man, there's no expectations. We're not going anywhere. Like, just go out there and do your best and get us excited about you next year. Make a statement because now I feel like going into spring training, there's a lot more question marks than there was coming into this past season's spring training. Like coming into spring training, we kind of knew, we obviously knew first, we knew second. We pretty much knew our infield but it was just more about like where do they go positioning wise, and then we kind of knew our outfield. The only wild card again was Jordan Walker, and we now know that he's here and stuff like that. And injuries is obviously set back for us, but I think that that's kind of something that they're going to have to do is just say, okay, well, now we're going to need to like start taking a look at some of the talent that we do have and see, where they stack up against what we are currently putting out there.
Especially when considering that we have the number of injuries that we do, like use this opportunity to sub in a little bit if they have to, for these, these opportunities. So that way next year come around, they're not completely green, So I agree with your point there. So,
but I mean, it is nice that, because if you think about it, they are doing that at least for Liberatore and Zach Thompson. So, I mean, those guys get to just go out and be in the rotation, or at least Liberatore does. I think Thompson might be. I don't know. They kind of been having him long relief. But, yeah, I mean, those guys are going to get a lot more consistent playing time at the big leagues, so they'll be able to really establish themselves, hopefully, in some way, but give you a better idea about them and help you better assess your pitching needs as you go into the offseason. So at least those guys, they got it working for.
Yeah, and the thing about that too is like, but I believe also, and I could be wrong on this, I would have to look it up, but I do believe like Liberatore and hold on, I mean, I believe that they're on like a 2-way contract if I remember correctly. Maybe not Liberatore, but let me double check on that real quick. But anyways, like I do believe that you're right. I mean, like getting these guys some time up, and like you do have to. It's not like you're gonna take the entire farm and bring them up this year. You know what I mean? You do need to kind of pick and choose those guys, and then I just don't know. It's just kind of give and take because like you want them to have that experience, but at the same time you want them to be ready, right? So that is it's a good point.
Well, and I think like, bringing up the 35-year-old guy, I think that's kind of a little tip of the cap to somebody that's been in the organization a while, probably that, is probably never going to make it to the majors otherwise.
There's no way, not by 35. Hell no.
If you got like a catcher down there, like your starting catcher in AAA, is perceived to be a somewhat important role in the organization, even though they don't make nearly as much money, obviously none of the glamour either, but it's still important to have a quality guy there. So like, it's that kind of thing. Bring that guy up, let him be in the show for a little bit because he's going to go right back down next year. If he's still in the game at all. Yeah. So
there's just a lot, that kind of goes into this. And it just sucks that we're even in this situation, obviously. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I take away from it. It's just, obviously we would like to be completely healthy, chasing a pennant, but it's,
but we're not. And the reality of the situation is how do we look forward and how do we get better? And obviously we're going to have to, we're in that position that we're going to have to start looking at our, at the youth, at the guys coming up. So, I mean, we unfortunately had a very, our overall aging team for the most part, past couple of years, looking at the median age, and that catches up to you over time as well. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, guys, let's take a look at this. I mean, who is, and we kind of already mentioned some of these names, but who can take place for all these injuries that are going down? OJ, I know you brought up Motter, you brought up Furman as well. I think that those moves, obviously we want to see Mason win, but we know that we can't see them just yet. That's just not how it's going to be. So Mater at short, Furman at second, it somewhat makes sense. Obviously, moving Edmond out to the outfield since your outfield is so depleted, that all kind of makes sense here. But is there anything else lacking, Adam? I'm going to start with you. Anything else lacking here that you feel like we could make a better move to kind of fill some of these injury rules?
Yeah, because I was thinking like for the outfield, for Newt, since he's going to be out for what, at least, he's what, day to day, I think. So
he's day to day,
yeah, he's day to day. So for him, we don't have to look at since we're not looking at a long time replacement. We can put Walker or O'Neill, whoever, if we have to in that position. It's not going to be that big of a deal for us, for a day to day. But looking at some of these guys that are, we have been on the the list a little longer, like Carlson, who obviously is going to be critical for the outfield as well. Who are we going to put out there on a long-term basis? Because now that we've got Newt out, we've also got Carlson out. We're going to have to probably look at our infield, like you were saying, bringing somebody out for sure.
Yeah. Like that dude they brought up that you were talking about, he's 23. I forget his name. Sorry,
yeah.
What was it?
Let me bring it up again because I just had his name.
Yes.
Because it was kind of a different name that he had like a Hispanic, let me see, here it is. Right.
What position was he playing?
I believe second base. That's
Richie. Richie Palacios.
Palacios,
Palacios, yeah. He's apparently, he plays at second, and apparently they just brought him up, from my understanding. Yeah, apparently they just did I just read an article that apparently they brought him up from Memphis.
Apparently he's got like a 417 on base percentage.
Oh, interesting. Apparently they're bringing him in to fill in for Carlson. Apparently.
Oh, okay. I think he was an outfielder before, because I know some people were saying they saw him listed as an outfielder elsewhere. So
gotcha.
Maybe he converted to second or something for some reason.
Could have been. Yeah.
Just for the time being, maybe too. Just because again, you're looking at organizational needs too.
But looking as he played for, because he was acquired from the Guardians a couple months ago in exchange for cash considerations, and since then he's registered 876 OPS and 5 homers and 3 steals in 40 games with Memphis. So, yeah.
Is this the prospect?
Exactly.
Hey, we just got Pujols from the Twins for cash consideration.
Jesus.
So, I mean, we'll have to see how he performs here in the majors. But he obviously was performing pretty well in Memphis.
Maybe it's telling that they brought him up before Mason Wynn.
You're right.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
I do believe that we're reading maybe a little too much into that, but hey, who knows, right?
Hey, we're hopeful. So there you go.
He does have a super high on base percentage though this year at that level. So, I mean, he could contribute offensively here. I mean, that's like Brendan Donovan type shit in the minors. So, I mean, if he's got, I read he doesn't hit for any power, but he gets on base like crazy.
Hey, at this point, that's what we need. We need guys that can get on base at this point. Shit.
Absolutely.
We have the guys that can swing for the fences. We've got Arenado, we got Goldie, we got those guys. We need guys in that lineup that can just get on base first. Shit.
Yeah. Like Donnie and Newt, I believe, are on base machines. Donnie specifically.
For sure.
And so missing him and Newt really
sucks. So having him at least will hopefully help. We'll see.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah. That's what they needed. They're like, we need a guy to get on base in front of the big boppers. Well, here's this guy with a 417 on base percentage. All right, bring him in.
Yep. And obviously, also another big thing that we have a big hole in, and once again, then that's pitching, of course. Steve Matt's going down.
Yeah.
But and obviously Waino is just flailing, of course, as he continues to do so.
He pitched okay today.
He did better today, for sure.
Going into the fourth.
No, I'm talking about his past. Well, I'm not talking about tonight. Yeah.
No,
tonight he actually looked a hell of a lot better because I actually watched the first couple innings, and he actually looked a hell of a lot better, much more in control for sure. I mean, granted, the ump was probably giving him a little bit on the outside of that plate, it looked like for me, but hey, I'll take it.
That's the way baseball goes.
For sure.
That's how baseball.
Yeah, I was like, wow, he's being kind of generous there on that outside of that plate, but all right, that's cool. So
yeah, that's probably as close.
Hey, I'll take it for sure. And Waino's obviously he's saying he's not going to quit. He's trying to push and not let the guys down, but it is what it is. But yeah, it just sucks that.
That's probably as close as we'll get this season for for low the game kind of moment for Wainwright.
Right.
Hey, because I think it might have been a quality start. I didn't see how many innings he went exactly.
No, I don't think it was a quality start. Because I don't think he even got into past the fifth inning. I could be wrong.
He was a little bit past the fifth inning.
Was he? Okay, so then he
let me look and see.
3 runs,
he pitched 6 innings.
Yeah, then he got a quality start.
Quality start. That's
there you go.
It's that's what this version of Adam Wainwright is capable of. It's the same as several years ago when he had that ridiculous night against the Dodgers when he actually came back. It's like that, or that couple years ago, maybe it was last year where he had the complete game shutout. That's what this version of Wainwright is capable. That's that kind of.
And who knows? I mean, the fact is, right now we're only down 1 run in the bottom of the 7th, so.
Actually,
but he's not in line for the win, unfortunately.
I know he's not in line to win the win, but at least he'd go out there and at least they'd have the save, and at least he wouldn't go out there and look embarrassed. So
I read that wins are somewhat at the discretion of the scorers. So if I was scoring it, I think I'd go ahead and give it to him.
No, because so you're trailing right now, right? And then you got to take a look who's pitching for the Cardinals. So who's ever pitching, he's saying. Oh, okay, my bad. I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah, I figured I'd better interject before he really explains everything.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah. So speaking of Wainwright here, it's very interesting, right? Because we know that he's sitting at 198 wins currently, right? He's trying to get the 200. This is something that we definitely thought that he was going to be able to get the 200 this year, not a problem. Right? I definitely, exactly. But it's not looking necessarily all that good for him. Far in this year, he's 3-7. He's obviously got a lot more starts than that with no decisions, but he's 3-7 on the year. The batting average against him is 375. So batting lineups are batting 375 against him, 618 slugging against. He's got a whip of 2.09, that's 2 base runners every single inning. It's crazy. And then his ERA is 2.78.
I bet if you take out all the games where he gave up 8 runs, it probably drastically shrinks his ERA. So, I mean, really, it's been a pretty good season. I mean, it's only been 3 or 4 games where he gave up 8, right?
I mean, yeah, but.
And all the other games he was okay in, right?
Well.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know if I can stretch it that far either. So.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He definitely hasn't looked the sharpest, regardless of the situation. It just is what it is, unfortunately for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's sad, honestly. To kind of see him, in this state, after having such a career, with the Cards. So, you hate to see it,
I don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't understand why you guys are taking what I'm saying extremely seriously. It's so ridiculous. It has to be a joke.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing about it though is I don't know, man. Because I think the reason why we're taking it I guess more seriously is because as you said, OJ, it's just you're so not used to seeing this. You know what I mean? I took a look at his WAR. This is the first time he's been negative in WAR in 10 years. His averages for everything are way down. For batting average, they're way up. It's crazy. It's literally it's like he's coming off of an injury of some sort. You know what I mean? that something happened in the which obviously he was. I mean, obviously he had a leg problem and had a quad strain, but even before the quad strain, he didn't look great. So it's just one of those things. It's like all of a sudden, Father Time hit him. You know what I mean? That's still.
Oh yeah, it hit him for sure.
Like.
Yeah. I guess that's how it happens. You just one day you can't do it anymore.
Right.
Oh man.
One too many injuries and that's it sometimes. So.
Yeah.
And eventually, that it just wears it. Obviously, with all the pitching he's done, and it takes a toll on his body, his arm and everything else, and you just lose that control after a time, and those muscles wear out.
That's for sure.
About time for him to join up some men's slow pitch softball league.
I'll gladly take him on my team.
I was gonna say, there you go. He'd be great for that.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I bet he could pitch better than anyone else. Also, throwing slow pitch underhanded. I think he would still find a way to differentiate himself from all the other pitchers in that league.
And I agree with you, OJ, just because of the fact that he's so damn competitive. You know what I mean? I think that because obviously, the mechanics are completely different, and spinning the ball is completely different too. But I think he would figure out the way to do it. Yeah, exactly. He would learn it, and he would do it. Well, I think also too, and for a men's softball league, obviously he's not known as a hitter and stuff like that, but I think he could probably hit pretty well too. What I mean? Just as you have to have the natural athleticism.
I specified slow pitch. I specified slow pitch. So he would be hitting it out.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd be MVP immediately.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at it here, guys. What are the chances for him to get 200 wins? So, with the 40 games left after tonight, which obviously he won't be able to get the win tonight, he will be scheduled he'll have about 8 opportunities according to how many games we have left if he pitches every 5th game, right? So he's going to have to get 2 wins out of those 8 chances. Now he is projected to only get 5 more starts. So it just depends, I guess, on what graph you look at. But I went off of the last. So if he's pitching every 5th game, right? Taking a look at the schedule, they are his next one would be scheduled for at Pirates on August 22nd, then at home against the Padres on the 28th, at home against the Pirates again on the 3rd, at Cincinnati on the September 9th, at home against the Phillies on the 15th, at home against the Brewers on the 20th, at the Brewers at the 26th, and then at home October 1st for the last game of the season, which I think that he will definitely be pitching that last game of the season.
He will, for sure.
Regardless, yeah.
Because,
but I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think they're having a big honorary thing like they did last year, for Yachty and Pujols and everything else. I'm sure he probably will be in that, at least somewhat to kind of walk off the field, kind of have that moment,
Mm-hmm. And for his sake, I hope he's not sitting at 199 going into that last game, because I feel like there's just going to be, so much pressure, and it's going to take away from the.
That's exactly what's going to happen. That's what I was just about to say.
I know,
probably the thing we can hope for the most. That's going to be our World Series this year. Is Wainwright's last start? Can he get 200?
Yeah. I'm hoping that he could definitely get one before then, but we'll see what ends up happening.
And then he throws a perfect game, and it's the craziest thing to ever happen.
Oh my God! Okay. Can you imagine that kind of send-off?
That would be literally that would be a World Series moment.
Fix the season.
That would be I would take that as a win for a World.
One go.
Yeah. If I seen that on the last game of the regular season and he pitches a perfect game, I'd be like, okay, we don't even need a World Series. We're good. I'm good. That was insane.
Yeah. I've now seen the 2 craziest things I could ever have hoped to see.
Yeah. But I think.
Go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, but so there was some doubt, obviously, that Ollie had put out there about, giving him many more start opportunities because of how his recent performance. But I think because he had a pretty good showing tonight overall. I mean, the best we've seen in a while, and the fact that Matz is also out as well with injuries. I think that
who else are you going to trot out there? Like,
exactly.
That's the biggest thing. Like, and you're gonna do that to Wainwright now, like with 40 games left, really? Like,
I mean, I know that a lot of that was from his last start, which was embarrassment to say the least.
Yeah, it was 100%. Mm-hmm.
And so I know there was some, Ali was not very happy with the way things going. I mean, he was, none of us were happy. Adam was not happy. No one was happy about it, but he was contemplating, if this continues, is there really a future with him, at least to finishing out the season, but at this point, you kind of have to,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
when you're this close,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have nothing else to lose.
Right.
So, I mean, let the dude try to get 200 and hope for the best, So,
So looking at the schedule that I just put out, right? So just to go through it again, you're at the Pirates, home against the Padres, home against the Pirates, at Cincinnati, home against the Phillies, home against the Brewers, at the Brewers, and then home against the Reds. Are there games in this lineup that are, the schedule that kind of like scream to you that these could be the games that he gets a win? I want to say that he's been historically pretty decent against the Pirates. I think that those are games that he could potentially win. We just haven't been able to really beat the Pirates or really beat anybody for that matter. Right? But the Pirates have been a little bit more on the slumping on the side of things. Obviously, they were the lead of the Central for a long time. But now they are actually tied with us record-wise. We might be able to surpass the Pirates soon. Yay. But they just haven't been doing well. They're 4-6. They've been beat up by injuries as well. And since we faced them twice, I do believe that potentially could be 2 games there. He's done obviously very extraordinary against Cincinnati historically. You have 2 games against Cincinnati as well. The Brewers have kind of been like a hit or miss, and I really don't feel that we're going to be able to beat the Brewers this year. So I don't feel those 2 games. The Padres are, even though they're slumping, they're still the Padres and have one of the best potent offenses, in all of baseball. So I don't know about that one either. And the Phillies are, kind of on a hot streak. So for me, I think it's got to be the Central Division games. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be the Pirates and Reds specifically. Whether it's a split out of one of those, or maybe he beats up on both Pirates games or both Reds games. Who knows? You know what I mean? That's just kind of my take. OJ, what's your take out of that? Any of these games kind of shout out to you that they could be wins?
Yeah, I mean, really all of them, because that's how baseball is. Really, it's any given Sunday type thing. So, I mean, the worst teams in the entire history of the league generally still have 40 something wins. I don't know. Yeah. It's just so the best teams sometimes lose to the worst teams. So they're all possibilities. To me, the thing that's going to depend the most, because I think Wainwright is capable of turning in a qualifying for a win a couple of times within those 5, and it's really going to be on the bullpen, whether our bullpen can kind of start to find some kind of consistency and stop blowing leads. Because if they're just going to blow leads, then no starter will ever get a win the rest of the season.
Yeah, agreed. And because we either need to have a decent outing by the bullpen pitchers, or you have to go up 5 runs in the first inning. That's kind of what it feels like for the Cardinals this year. So I agree with you on that aspect of things.
Yeah.
Adam, what about you when you take a look at this 8-game schedule that's kind of out? And obviously we know this could change, but this is kind of what it mapped out, I guess, so to speak.
I mean, I'm looking at the last 8 games that he's pitched. Looking at the record, and he's won 2 of those games of the 8. Obviously, he was much better at the beginning of the year. He won 3 outings in a row there. But I think it's possible. I mean, it just depends. I have to look at the schedule, really, honestly. I'm gonna have to look and see who we're facing and whatever. Because you mentioned the Pirates, and who else is that what you said?
Yeah. So At Pirates, at home against the Padres, at home against the Pirates, at the Reds, home against the Phillies, home against the Brewers, at the Brewers, and then home against the Reds, at least from what it looks like currently.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'm looking the last 2 of the 8 wins, or I'm sorry, the 8 games that he's pitched. The 2 that he was pitching against are the Diamondbacks and the Mets, because I'm looking to see if these were worthwhile teams or not. And it's going to be, man, I think he's willing to get, I'm sure he'll probably get the 199, but I really don't think he's going to get to the 200. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and as you said, that in his last 8 games, he's gotten 2 wins. So that puts it right up against that. And against not quality opponents, although the Mets have a good lineup and stuff, they're just not doing well this season.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, and here's a weird thing about it is Arizona's actually really not that bad of a team this year. I mean, they're 1 game above 500. They're better than us. They're 61-60 currently. They're kind of on a little bit of a downtrodden month so far, but they were above the Giants in the West for a long time.
Yeah, they kind of slumped again.
No, they're on the rise for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but comparably in the NL West, though. Yeah, I mean, compared to the Dodgers, obviously, they're 13 back right now. They're right at 500.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they're playing 500 ball. Hell, we've only been above 500 1 game this year.
God.
And that was game 1, right? Just kidding.
Well, you know what I mean.
Feels like it, man. I know.
Yeah, pretty
much. It just feels like it.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I don't know.
I'm
not feeling it. I'm not feeling it myself, but like I said, I hope I'm wrong. But the problem is, I'm looking at those last 8 games. Yes, he squeezed out two wins, but realistically, he's going to deteriorate, I think, even more as time goes on, and the more he pitches. I could be wrong, but
unless he gets whatever Pujols was drinking at the end of
I guess year. Yeah, he could.
That's the only thing I can
You're
think
not
of.
wrong though. I mean, because I mean, it is, as the season goes on, his arm's gonna be wearing down more and more. At his age, it takes him
even
much longer to recover than anyone else.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what they were talking about that on the broadcast before we started the podcast tonight. John Smoltz was saying that at the end of his career, he basically just never threw except for the days he started because he just couldn't do it anymore.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me, it's what he reminds me of right now, and this is kind of an unfair comparison, and I'm sorry to Waino because I know he's an avid listener, right? But he reminds me of the veteran from Major League, the one that was putting Vaseline and crap and all over. Not to say he's cheating, but just how he doesn't have it anymore, but he's kind of still savvy. I just feel like he's that veteran pitcher the next year. What I mean? That's what he kind of reminds me of. So you're doing all this, but you don't have it anymore. I mean, I'm throwing everything I can think at him, Cap. I got him one more on me. All right, let's get on. Give him the heater.
Exactly. Get by on grit and determination more than stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm telling you what,
clever, a little gritty,
Yep, exactly. But I will tell you something, man. If he can somehow pull off getting to 200, if he could all of a sudden these 5 to 8 games, whatever they're gonna give him, if he can come out and all of a sudden look like the Waino of old, everything that we've been feeling for the past few months about the Cardinals almost dissipates. You know what I mean? It's a disappointing season, but hey, at least we got, at least he finished on a very strong note. At least we got to see Uncle Charlie being Uncle Charlie for, a short period of time. So maybe Waino just needs to start taking steroids for the next 2 months.
There you go.
Who gives a shit? You're retiring anyways.
Point, do whatever you got to do. Yeah, they're not going to test you.
Exactly.
Forget it. Do it.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do. Steroids for days.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Suspend me?
Exactly.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, guys, let's transition here a little bit and let's start talking about some of the Women's World Cup. So for the listeners, I got some updates for us here. Last session, we talked about the teams going from that first round and getting into the Elite Eight, essentially the second round. we are now at the finals. So how we got here: Spain beat the Netherlands 2-1 in extra time. Sweden stunned Japan 2-1 at a late goal. Australia beat France in penalties 7-6. Very intense game. England outlasted Colombia as Colombia was starting to push. But England beat Colombia 2-1. Spain, and so that was all going from the second round into the semifinals, and then from the semifinals games going into the finals, Spain beat Sweden 2-1 after a late goal, and England pretty much dominated the game against Australia, unfortunately 3-1. So it would be Spain versus England for the in the final, and then the third place game will be played Sweden against Australia. So let me ask you, just I guess we'll kind of go into the Adam. I'm going to ask you first here. I mean, are you kind of surprised at all that it's Spain versus England? Or, is this kind of like...
Well, I was expecting England in the final at this point. I honestly thought I was expecting I was kind of hanging my hat on Australia to kind of pull the upset a little bit coming into it, honestly, being the host and everything else. I know that they were, coming in here, they were dominating, and, with that intense game over France, I was like, oh man, they actually have a real shot at it. But unfortunately, England took him to the cleaners. So, but that's who I was expecting to see. Either that or maybe, probably Sweden more than likely, because Sweden's been playing really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it, man, is like, I hope that Australia can at least get third place as a host country, but Sweden, the only thing, I mean, they beat Japan, which was a juggernaut coming into that. And then to lose to Spain 2-1, and again, it was a
that sucks.
I mean, it felt like that was going to extra time for sure. It just didn't happen. So, it is what it is, right? But
yeah, for sure. But like I said, more shocked about the Spain thing, not shocked about England. So I think the way it's going to go down is England's going to win final, and Australia, I'm going to go for third place.
Yeah. Well, OJ, what about you? I mean, do you believe that, this was kind of the result that you believed it was going to be, or, what's your thought process here?
No, I thought Japan was going to get in the finals because, I was like, I thought they were pretty tough to beat. Yeah. So them being out busted my bracket.
Yeah. Could you imagine if there were 64 nations like were going into it like March Madness style? That'd be crazy. Who's going to get the 16 seed, like Zimbabwe versus Spain?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would love that. Bring some
that would be awesome, especially
ass countries.
I know, dude, especially in soccer. That would be epic because like anything can happen. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you have March Madness where you have these true bloods going up against, team or like schools that have 2,000 students collectively. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, that would be epic. I would love that. But I don't think they would have the money for that. I think that would be kind of cool if they did that, not a World Cup tournament, but they did it like as just some sort of like charity tournament. Although FIFA won't allow that probably because they make so much money off the World Cup. They don't want anybody.
FIFA isn't the only people that can organize a soccer tournament. Like, goddamn, they don't own the sport.
No, but they do own they actually are the governing body for international soccer. So if, for example, like the USA says, hey, we want to go play, just using Zimbabwe. We want to go play Zimbabwe, right? We're going to do it for charity or whatever the hell. If FIFA says, nope, you can't do that, guess what? They can't do that because they're the governing body over it. It's kind of crazy in how much literally.
No, I'm joking.
Oh yeah. Because like, that's the thing about it is, but no, that's actually, it's a good thought process though, OJ, because like, so say that does happen. I have no idea what would end up happening. You know what I mean? Like, there obviously have to be sanctions against, the United States and probably Zimbabwe too. But in that scenario, at least, you know what I mean? But it would be interesting to see.
I mean, honestly, I think that, I'm sure I'm not alone, but I think that all these countries should just get together and ditch FIFA. Like, stop letting these little bitches blackmail you into fucking giving them a whole bunch of money they don't deserve to host fucking World Cups and shit. Nothing pisses me off like that.
And the biggest thing about that, OJ, is the fact that FIFA has been founded, I think like 2 or 3 times of corrupt bidding. of essentially like giving the bids to like for World Cups to, you know, people that were paying them under the table for,
That's what I'm
other
saying.
countries and stuff. The same thing with the Olympics. You know,
That's what I'm
so
saying.
like
They literally solicit bribes from countries. Like they hold them hostage. If you want the World Cup, you got to pay us at least this much. And you know, well, you know, it's just ridiculous. And I'm surprised anybody puts up with it. Like with all the European countries, they all have to hate that shit too. And they're the like biggest hotbed of soccer right now, other than maybe South America. So if they all decided, you know what? Fuck FIFA. We're going to start our own little European league, and, you know, we'll invite some other countries if they want to join. And next thing you know, you have your own new international football organization, and FIFA's no part of it. That's what I think should happen.
And I agree with you too. I think because like you have UEFA, right? So UEFA, which is obviously for Europe, so they're their own governing group. But they are still part of like FIFA. But what's to stop us from doing a CONCACAF? And then like you have UEFA, CONCACAF, try to remember like CONMEBOL, you know, you have the Asia Pac, like you have like these other ones that it comes time for the World Cup, you just do like a United Nations like assembly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that would be I think that would be really cool. And then, like, again, what I also believe would be a lot of fun, and I think it would be so big for the sport. Okay, just going off the like the 64 team bracket that we just did, or we were talking about, right? And like you could draw names for it, whatever, it doesn't matter. But so you have the World Cup, we continue that on every 4 years, right? But maybe every 2 years or like every other year. So like, you know, maybe it's still every 4 years, but it's like how they do the Olympics, where you have you have the Winter Olympics, and then 2 years later have the Summer Olympics, right? So you'll have a major soccer tournament every 2 years, and then you do this where like again you have 64 teams, but the team is traveling to that home, like the home country, and so like that way you get more exposure to like bigger teams in smaller countries and stuff like that. You also have smaller countries that are able to, you know, have some sort of pride and stuff like that. I think it could be a lot of fun, and you're going to get a lot of exposure and people interested in the sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it takes away from the World Cup. I think it would increase the World Cup, because not only that, let's be honest here, especially in the American side of things, when the World Cup is like, once we start going like the actual CONCACAF qualifications, maybe some leeway fans will start paying attention, but most of them don't even pay attention until the World Cup is like, okay, we got like 2 weeks. I better start reading up on these teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I kind of feel like happens a lot. And so like, if you have some sort of preconceived notion of what those teams are going into it, I think it just increases everything a lot more. But, you know, I obviously this is all us just talking, because there's no way that FIFA is ever going to relinquish their power, or anybody else is going to go against FIFA, unfortunately.
Too much money involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to the topic at hand here, and let's talk a little bit about the previews of the finals between Spain and England. You know, Adam, I believe you kind of already said a little bit about that too, of like who you believe is going to win, right?
Yep.
Yeah. OJ, who do you have here? You know, between England and Spain, is there anyone of these sides that kind of spits out to you? You know, says that I think they have the advantage.
I don't know. I mean, really, I want to say England, because I'm more surprised that Spain's there than England. But I mean, Spain is there, and they are a pretty big soccer country themselves. I don't know. Maybe they'll be hungrier because, you know, the English folks are always used to being like front and center for soccer.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that's the thing about it, is like, you know, it's not like I root actively against England, but I mean, I hope Spain gets it, just because I know what this is going to do for English soccer if they win the World Cup. You know what I mean? It's going to be, oh my God, we're the best ever. And it's just like, remember how you were going to bring the cup home for this last World Cup? Yeah, how did that go out for you? You know what I mean? Like, God, they're just so arrogant about shit, just pisses me off.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh well, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. But if you take a look at their power rankings, according to FIFA, England's number 4 and Spain is number 6. It should be a very close matchup. Going into it here, England is 6-2-3 against Spain in international play. So obviously, huge favorite, having 6 wins, 2 losses, and 3 draws. They are the slight favorite by betting odds. I think they were -110 to -120. If you were betting against Spain, so that's kind of crazy, right? Both teams excel with the ball and are both very methodical. I just believe the game's going to come down to execution. I have it written down. England wins this game 3-2. I would like to see Spain win this game for sure. I think it's just going to come down to that last execution. I think that England's got a lot of veterans that got injured. They don't know if they're going to be coming back, and they have a lot of young talent that's in this tournament right now. I really believe that for the next World Cup, it's going to be England and the United States because we have a lot of young talent. I think there's going to be Australia will be in the mix. Japan will definitely be in the mix, probably Spain as well. Some of these bigger countries when it comes to that stuff. But I believe that the major rivalry is going to be starting again with England and the United States because I believe it's going to be neck and neck for between these two for quite a while, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I certainly think.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can happen. We'll see, obviously, kind of how it progresses. But anyways, let's go ahead and transition to our hometown soccer team here and talk a little bit about STL City. We haven't talked about them in a while because obviously the Nationals. The Leagues Cup was being played out, and obviously we had a pretty disappointing 0-2 run in that.
Disastrous.
But play is now resuming. And the break was actually good for us because we do have a lot of healthy players getting healthy again. The only 2 players that are on the injury list right now is, of course, Klaus and Joachim Nielsen. Haven't really heard much about Klaus. The official report was given that he was going to be out 4 weeks. That was 8 weeks ago. However, he has returned to practice and is starting lateral movements and starting his progression to return to play. Nice. Obviously, he's coming off of that strained quad, which I can tell you right now, after I came back to play softball after my strained quad, and then after this past, I haven't played this session unfortunately with everything that was going on with the team. But then I played in a tournament this past weekend, and my leg is still freaking sore. So, man, I can't imagine dealing with that. You know what I mean? I don't think I'd strain my quad or anything, but I can feel that maybe it wasn't as strong as I thought it was going into that. So, it's going to be good for him to get back, and obviously he's with the best people that are going to be able to assess those kind of injuries and be able to get them back into shape.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad we had that little bit of break for them,
Oh, yeah.
We were concerned about these injuries and such. And so having basically the past month or so, off has definitely, been our benefit in that sense of, at least for our regular season. You know what I mean?
I agree. Speaking to that too, Nielsen has also been practicing with the team, and he's actually rumored, and again, nothing's been confirmed, but he's been rumored that he's going to debut maybe against Austin because he's been injured the entire season. Hasn't actually played for us. So it will be interesting. But let's take a look here at a 5-game preview. So the next 5 games for City. You have us at home against Austin on August 20th. We beat Austin 3-2 in February. Austin is 5th in the West, and just to remind everybody, City is in 1st, and it's 41-32 in points. Then we are at Orlando City August 26th. We've never played Orlando City, but Orlando is 5th in the East with 41-37 on the point differential. The thing about the East is they are very top-heavy, where the West is kind of spread out on points. Then we are at home against Dallas August 30th. Last time we played Dallas, we actually lost to them. That was back in June. Dallas is 8th in the West, 41-30 in points. Then we are at Sporting KC September 2nd. We beat KC 4-0 in May. KC is 11th in the West with 41-26 on points. Then the last one of the 5-game preview we have here is at the Los Angeles Galaxy September 10th. We drew with them. I think it was a 1-1 back in June. Galaxy sits 13th in the West. With 22 points, so we're 41-22 on points on that one. Gentlemen, here I'm going to start with you, OJ. How do you feel about these 5 games here? Do you believe this can be 5 wins, or do you think that one of these might be a letdown game for us?
I mean, I think realistically you could win all of these. I mean, the Galaxy have been having a rough season. You already beat Austin once. I guess maybe that'll make it harder to beat them twice. That might be a little tough. I think they played Orlando too, didn't they? Or did they?
They did not play Orlando City.
I don't remember it now.
They played. Yeah, they played. Out of these 5 teams, the only one they have not played was Orlando City. We played Dallas.
We lost to Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, we destroyed Sporting KC, which is not really a good team anymore.
Not surprised.
Oh, and Dallas was that was the one that got, like, they finished it up later or something, like it got rained out.
With a rain delay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Austin, that was a really weird one because, I mean, it felt like they should have called that game off way early and it went super late and it was really annoying. And then, of course, the Austin one was our home opener. Inaugural game.
So, I mean, to me, these all look winnable. Like Sporting Kansas City, you should beat. Like, so, I think they got some more. I think they can pretty easily put away enough points to guarantee a spot in the playoffs.
Well, for sure. I definitely believe that's going to happen. We'll take a look at that in just a second. Adam, for these 5, I mean, do you believe there's a letdown game that's in here, or?
Yo, FYI, Palacios is batting right now. They're pinch hitting him.
Oh, really?
Somebody
nice.
I didn't see. Cards are down 4-2 in the bottom of the 9th. Kisner got on. Oh, captain, my captain. And now Palacios. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, back to your regular scheduled program.
Thanks for the update.
Nope.
And for me, looking at this for the next 5 games, obviously Galaxy and KC, those 2 later games, for me, I think that should be a gimme for sure. Obviously nervous about Austin and Dallas for sure. I think that we can at least win 3 of the 5 for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think so as well. I take a look at this and, we beat Austin. So I think the worst we could do is maybe draw against them because Austin has gotten much better since
they have for sure. Yeah. And they're 5th right now and they have 32 points, so they're not terribly all that far behind us, but I think that they have a real chance. I think they have a better chance than Dallas, honestly. But obviously Dallas is also going to be fighting harder than Austin, I think, because obviously they're going to be looking for a playoff,
Yeah, but Dallas is on the slide, and that's why I believe that
they are.
We beat Austin, lost to Dallas, but I think that this time around we could lose to Austin and win against
Dallas.
Over
Dallas. That's what I'm kind of seeing as well. But worst case, we lose those 2. We got the other 3.
Home matches, guys. So it could be.
Yeah.
We could win both.
We could win them all. Absolutely. I hope we do. But I'm just saying, being kind of looking at this from a kind of a realistic perspective of, just looking at 5 games, ones I feel a little bit more nervous of. And those are the 2 I guess I'm a little bit more nervous for compared to like KC and Galaxy,
Yeah. Although we did draw Galaxy, which was kind of disappointing before.
Yeah, that is disappointing for, the
definitely.
team that hasn't been worth a shit. So
then
again, didn't we? Yeah, I was going to say we for some reason have that luck for some reason, right? So
it does seem like it sometimes.
Yeah.
But
well, guys, let's take a look here at the rest of the way. So there's actually only 11 games left, so we've already kind of previewed half the games. We're looking at this right now. Currently, we're 13 points ahead of the last play-in spot. So for anybody that doesn't know, there's a play-in tournament between the 8th and 9th seed team in each conference that the winner of it will move on and be the AC going into the playoffs. So the play-in tournament here, we're 13 points ahead of that last play-in spot, and we are 11 points ahead of the non-playoff spot. So that would be the number 7. And for anybody who does not know or is new to soccer, a win gets you 3 points, and a tie or a draw, as they call it in soccer, gives you 1 point. So that 13 points is what they consider 4.5 games, because technically a tie is a half game. I don't know how they kind of classify that, but just to kind of put it more into what people are kind of used to, right? But it's at least four wins with a tie ahead of the last play-in spot with 11 games remaining, which is very good for us right now. We get a couple more wins and a couple more losses, then all of a sudden that number becomes much bigger. And so for example, if we win and the 9th place team loses, all of a sudden that goes from 4.5 games to 6.5 games with 10 games remaining, essentially the way that it looks at. And it's the same thing really with 11 points, although it's just classified as 4 games, because if they win 4 games and we lose 4 games, then they will catch up to us, kind of thing.
Yeah. And even looking at those last 6 games of the season, like beyond the next 5, we actually have a decent shot. I mean, it's not a horrible schedule. Yeah, we have, like we're facing KC again. We're facing, Minnesota. Sure, we're facing LA, FC for sure. But overall, like it's a pretty easy schedule near the end.
I definitely think so too. And I mean, I'll even go into this. So I had labeled out that the last 11 games we go 6, 2, and 3. I kind of gave us some draws that could potentially be wins, potentially losses as well. But it's just one of those that I could see us drawing. But the 6, 2, and 3 finish would give us 21 more points, and we would finish at 62 points. Put that in perspective, that most likely is good enough to win first. Last year, LAFC won the Western Conference with 67 total points, and second place was Austin with 56.
Yeah.
So just kind of putting that in perspective. I believe that if we go 6, 2, and 3 for the last 11, I believe we're winning the West, because it would take something extraordinary, I think, from LAFC to be able to win, because we're 4 points ahead of them currently. So
you're absolutely right. If you do that, then that's a realistic record for that stretch. And you're right, that absolutely would most likely win us the conference. So that'd be pretty sick. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that'd be a hell of an accomplishment.
You really only need like one more win, 3 more points, I should say, to be pretty certain that you can at least get the last wild card spot at the end of the year. So
right. Yeah, realistically,
playoffs are all but guaranteed. But yeah, so it is. Now now let's look at seeding and see what we could do.
Yeah. Get a home game, you know what I mean?
We have 2 games against Kansas City coming up, so those will be nice.
For sure.
But we're also getting some additions back to the roster, and they signed a new guy also.
Yeah, and which he is expected to potentially play against Austin as well. But they're not 100% on that. I think what they're saying that it's either going to play against Austin or he will play against Orlando City, just so he can get in the full. But apparently, like, he's riding really high, and like he's been doing incredibly well in his with his training and stuff like that, according to our coach. And he says that our coach did say that some of that probably is just the hype of joining a new team and stuff. So you kind of need to find a baseline for it. You know what I mean? But we'll see what ends up happening with that, right? So
Oakvie Thorson. So he's a big winger. So that's 6'2". Got some ups, I assume. So like that's very helpful. That's something we've been lacking. And then we're also, I don't know about Klaus, but we've got Leuven is back. He played 90 minutes in the last game of the League's Cup that they had. So he played a full match. So we can count him to be back. And then we're getting Joachim Nilsson back, who has not played for us at all this season. But he's a center back, I believe. So
he's apparently a really talented one. So we'll see if that can shore up our defense and shore up our lines.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think people thought we were screwed going into the season because he was hurt. We had no idea how our defense would hold up. And it's been surprisingly good, but it's definitely been exposed at times, that back line. Especially like if you think like in the League's Cup against the against both teams too. Like they kind of both got
Columbus and America.
Yeah, they both kind of like got lots of goals off of chipping it over our backline's head, beating them to the ball and getting in that way. So having a hopefully speedy, talented center back that we can now add would be pretty cool. And he actually has already he's been playing with City 2, and he scored a goal off a header with them already. So we should see him back pretty soon, if not the first match back too, I would think.
Yeah. So again, that's what they're saying. He might be he's rumored to start that debut. So we'll see what ends up happening. You know what I mean? It's definitely exciting for City to be in this position and situation, which is great because they're kind of like the only beacon of like light that we have in St. Louis sports right now, which is it's funny because we believed it was going to be the opposite, that the Cardinals were going to be dominating and that the City was just going to be terrible. Well, it's the exact opposite, so funny how things work.
It sure is.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get to our side off here. Adam, do you want to tell the good listeners here and how they can reach out to us and interact with us?
Absolutely. Our lovely listeners can always hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/the hometown losers. Once again, that's always LOUSERS. Check us out, like us, comment, anything. Just, hang out with us on Facebook. That's always cool. Share our post. That'd be nice of you. Tell a friend. You could also check us out on X, formerly twitter.com/hometown losers.
All right. Yeah. Again, we always love having listeners interact with us so we can interact with interact with them and be able to, give them on the podcast and stuff like that.
I was going to say they could retweet, but I don't know if that's still a thing. Maybe re-X.
Yeah, re-Xing.
I'm not sure.
We're just going to call it Rexing.
Rexing. Yes, please Rex us. Oh, wait, that doesn't sound good. All right, turning it over to OJ.
Yeah. OJ, what do you got for the game of the week, bud?
Well, it's got to be on August 20th, Austin FC visiting the gem of the Midwest to take on St. Louis City SC at 8:30 p.m.
Yep. I know that I'm going to be wearing my shirt and getting my kit going for that one. I'm going to be very excited to see City again. So
hell yeah.
I'm excited. I was disappointed about their Leagues Cup, but let's be honest, everything is now on the line, and going to be fun to watch the rest of the MLS
for
season
sure.
As it unfolds.
I'm excited,
and I'm very excited to get a look at some of the guys they got. Well, like the new guys that we haven't seen yet, really. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, whenever Klaus comes back, I don't know when he's supposed to come back.
Hopefully, very soon. It looks like.
Hopefully,
yeah.
Well, as always, guys, I appreciate your time. Appreciate the listeners here. And make sure to, again, reach out to our socials so you can interact with us here, and definitely check out City as they take on Austin here on the 20th. So until next time, this has been the Hometown Losers podcast. Check us out next week. We'll catch you all next time. See you guys later.
This is OJ, and I wanted to thank you guys for listening to the equivalent of 3 dudes sitting at a bar talking about sports. We'll catch you next week on the Hometown Losers.